Do you know the city that was frozen in time due to an eruption of a volcano in 79 CE? In the year 79 CE, Mount Vesuvius, a volcano, erupted, causing widespread chaos and destroying the towns of Pompeii and Herculaneum, along with many of their residents. While history has seen numerous destructive volcanic events, the tragedy at Pompeii remains especially captivating for the public. Today, we'll explore the timeline of Pompeii, from its existence to its destruction and beyond. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel, History Compass, and drop a comment below suggesting other historical disasters or events you'd like us to cover. Compared to other geological events, predicting an eruption from Mount Vesuvius is relatively feasible. In a geological time frame, Mount Vesuvius has erupted consistently, occurring over 50 times based on sediment analysis. Despite the evident risk, human settlements were established around the mountain. The city was initially built by the Greeks in the 8th century BC, and later, under Roman rule, it transformed into a thriving and prosperous resort town. Pompeii was a bustling city with a thriving economy, attracting wealthy tourists and skilled artisans. Around 20,000 people called it home. In the year 79 CE, many longtime residents still remembered the earthquake in 62 CE, which happened due to the same seismic activity that later caused the volcanic eruption. The area experienced a series of shallow earthquakes over several days, affecting the city's water supply by damaging the delicate pipes connected to a nearby spring. Since only 17 years passed between the earthquake and Vesuvius's eruption, excavators have discovered evidence of repairs from the earlier quake in the ruins left behind by the flow of Vesuvius. This eruption is memorable because a survivor, Pliny the Younger, wrote about it. On the morning of the eruption, while Pliny was studying at his uncle's place, his mother noticed a strange and huge cloud. Pliny described it, its general appearance can best be expressed as being like an umbrella pine, for it rose to a great height on a sort of trunk and then split off into branches. In places it looked white, elsewhere blotched and dirty, according to the amount of soil and ashes it carried with it. Historians and scientists have different opinions on how most people in Pompeii died. Some think they were slowly covered by volcanic ash over time, while newer ideas suggest they perished instantly in a massive heat wave. Either way, it doesn't sound pleasant. Pliny the Younger, in his letters, talks about how his uncle, Pliny the Elder, tried to rescue people from Vesuvius. Pliny the Elder, who commanded a fleet of ships in the Mediterranean, ordered them to help in missions to towns along the coast. Bravely, or perhaps recklessly, depending on how you see it, Pliny the Elder approached the mountain. However, he soon discovered that stones were falling onto the ships, and pumice stones were filling the water around them. According to the Younger, they were at risk not just from being stranded due to the sudden retreat of the sea, but also from large fragments rolling down from the mountain, blocking the entire shore. According to current estimates, the debris descended at a speed of 6 inches per hour. While it might not sound like a lot, at that pace, it wouldn't be long before the accumulation of ash and stones made it extremely difficult to get away. Following the soft fall of ash, larger pieces of white pumice began to descend upon Pompeii. As the volcanoes kept erupting and throwing out more layers of earth, the pumice changed color to gray and was mixed with limestone and lava. The danger of big stones falling made many people stay inside. Unfortunately, some who tried to escape got hit by larger pieces of pumice, limestone, and lava rock. Scientists have pieced together the last moments of one family's terrifying struggle to survive. From 1 to 7 p.m., the front part of their house collapsed, forcing them to move to the back rooms. Pumice and larger items were falling with the ash. But the real fear wasn't just getting hit by the falling debris. The sheer weight of it caused houses to collapse on many people in Pompeii, evident from the fractures in the skulls found among the remains of those who stayed at home. Ash covered every surface, cinders rained down from the sky, and substantial chunks of rock crashed into buildings, trapping residents inside. It's likely that people heard the screams of their neighbors as they endured hardship within their homes. It must have felt like the world was ending, at least according to Pliny the Younger. He wrote about people pleading for help from the gods, but many others thought that there were no gods left, and the universe was forever plunged into darkness. And if that sounds grim, he added that he found some small comfort in thinking that the entire world was perishing along with him. Meanwhile, the people in Pompeii had to fend for themselves in a ruined landscape, trying to figure out whether it was safer to stay in houses with collapsing roofs or venture out into the fields with falling debris. A group of people decided to head out into the fields, doing their best to shield themselves. Pliny described them as going out with pillows tied to their heads using napkins. It might sound a bit silly, but it turned out to be a wise decision. Those who stayed behind faced something much worse. The residents of Pompeii and Herculaneum, who hadn't fled or perished by evening, had to deal with the most dangerous consequence of the volcano, the pyroclastic flow. This kind of flow is a mix of extremely hot ash and gas that moves at about 62 miles per hour. These surges can get so hot that they can strip flesh within seconds. The initial surge hit at midnight, wiping out anyone still in Herculaneum or Pompeii instantly. In Herculaneum, many people had already perished or managed to escape by the time the last surge arrived. Pompeii, a bit farther away, might have had survivors after the first surge, but it's unlikely they could have survived the subsequent ones. Trapped in their homes, these people probably inhaled ash or gases, unless the extremely hot air overcame them. While many sadly lost their lives, a significant number managed to survive. However, with their homes destroyed, they had nowhere to go. The survivors scattered across the Roman Empire, settling wherever they could. Historical records indicate that many of these refugees, facing difficult circumstances, married each other and moved to different cities. Emperor Titus even offered financial aid to cities that welcomed these refugees, helping them build new infrastructure. However, Pompeii was never re-established as a Roman settlement, which was likely a wise decision. Contrary to what many believe, Pompeii wasn't left untouched before its rediscovery. Soon after the volcanic event, looters ransacked the city, taking whatever they could. Even though the site had already been picked over, it still held immense value for archaeologists. The excavation work began in 1748, but initially, much of the effort was focused on locating and retrieving valuable items for King Charles III of Spain. For a long time, excavations at Pompeii were hasty and driven by greed. Excavators would forcibly remove frescoes from walls and cause irreversible damage to the site in their quest for valuable artifacts. After years of this mismanagement, an archaeologist named Giuseppe Fiorelli took charge in 1863. Fiorelli introduced crucial improvements to the excavation process. One of his key innovations was to dig into buildings from the top down, aiming to preserve artifacts and minimize the impact on the site as much as possible. Fiorelli is credited with producing some of the most poignant images of Pompeii. He made the decision to use plaster casts to form replicas of those who had tragically lost their lives. As their bodies had created voids in the ash, Fiorelli filled these spaces with plaster, crafting hauntingly accurate models that capture the final moments of the Pompeians. In the Second World War, the Allied Air Force set up a base near Vesuvius to disrupt Axis air control in northern Italy. The area was already facing German air raids, but the real trouble came from Mount Vesuvius. A fresh eruption started on March 18, 1944. Similar to the events in 79 CE, a huge column of ash rose into the sky. Debris and ash once again fell on Pompeii. Pyroclastic flows descended from the mountain, causing destruction to the airfield. Chunks of lava, reportedly the size of golf balls, fell as far as 10 miles away. Though not as catastrophic as the events that led to the demise of Pompeii, It posed significant challenges for the Allies. They suffered the loss of 88 aircraft and an entire airfield in a single day. On November 23, 1980, an earthquake shook Pompeii, bringing excavation efforts to a halt. This seismic event marked a shift in approach at Pompeii. Following the quake, archaeologists prioritized documenting existing ruins over excavating new ones. Experts commonly identify this event as a turning point in the excavation process. One expert mentioned that it significantly disrupted the entire site, leading to the deterioration of many elements. The earthquake was a significant and lasting change. In 2010, several excavated buildings suffered damage due to a mix of insufficient funding and adverse weather conditions. The Scola Armaturarum, a training facility for gladiators, and a crucial section of Pompeii's perimeter wall both suffered significant damage and were compromised. Archaeologist Alex Barbet, specializing in Pompeii, described the current situation as critical. In 2011, only 5 skilled conservators were responsible for maintaining Pompeii. Drainage problems had arisen, and there was a substantial backlog of essential maintenance tasks. Presently, new excavations at Pompeii are generally not permitted, with few exceptions. The majority of efforts are directed towards conservation work, partly because archaeologists cannot predict when the next seismic event might occur. Currently, Mount Vesuvius undergoes continuous monitoring. An observatory situated on the mountain examines gas emissions and seismic activity to detect any indications of an impending eruption. This monitoring is crucial because Vesuvius is an active volcano, and its eruption is inevitable. The consequences of such an event could be catastrophic, especially considering that 3 million people reside within the volcano's danger zone. A major eruption has the potential to be devastating for these people, leading to a significant refugee crisis. So what do you think? What natural disasters are near where you live? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from History Compass.